I am a fan of the New York Yankees, but also I'm a very big fan of the Miami Marlins. So, since I talked about the Yankees season and what I expect for them, it's only fair to talk about what I expect from the Marlins, my second team in the MLB. Starting off, what I think their record would be and what I consider a successful season. I don't really expect them to make the playoffs. I know they added some decent players that help towards that, mainly Jorge Soler. But I would like them to be within 5 games of the 500 mark. If that sneaks them into a wild card because they're 5 games over, perfectly fine with that. But if they're 5 games under and they're at least competitive into the last month of the season, I'm very fine with that, and I'd consider the season a success. What I'm looking forward this season, if you look at their roster, they're a very defensive team. They've got a lot of good starting pitchers, and most of their starting pitching prospects, most of their top prospects are starting pitchers. You look at guys like Sandy Alcantara, Trevor Rogers, who was a rookie last year, Pablo Lopez, Jesus Luzardo, Lazar Hernandez. These are guys that are all young. Then you go into the prospects. You got Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, and Sixto Sanchez that are all, two of them have played in MLB, Sixto and Edward Cabrera and Max Meyer. They're all ETA MLB 2022, according to MLB.com. So these guys, that's 8 starting pitchers, and you only need 5, maybe even 6 if you like to hold on to. But I want to see them move some guys and bring in another star on the offensive side, someone who comes available. I like the fit of Ketel Marte from Arizona. I think he's a good player and fit in well because they're kind of in need of a center fielder right now, and that's a position he can play. I kind of wanted them to keep Starling Marte, but they traded him last year, and I'm very fine because I like Jesus Luzardo. But if you look at the team, you got Jacob Stallings at catcher, Jesus Aguilar at first, Jazz Chisholm at second, Joey Wendell and Brian Anderson at third, Miggy Rojas at shortstop, Soler in left, Jesus Sanchez in center, and Avisail Garcia in right field. The only major hole you see there is third base and center field. Like Jorge Soler and Avisail Garcia, those are 2 guys I brought in that I'm very happy with that move. Jesus Aguilar is a good first baseman. He doesn't have that many years left, but he's good. They could add another closer. Right now, it's listed as Dylan Floro. Maybe you could add someone there. But the major hole is center field. Jesus Sanchez is a good player, but he's not a good center fielder. They've had a lot of center field prospects that just haven't hit on. They have no one that pops out as a top center field prospect. He's got JJ Bleday, but he's definitely a corner outfielder, and he's another guy that I really hope makes major league debut this season. So you look at the guys that they have and look at the guys that they have ready. Like I think they got to make a move. If it's Ketel Marte, if it's Brian Reynolds, maybe. I just really want them to go and add a big guy to the offense because that's what they're missing. They're gonna be a team that the games they win are gonna be 2-1, and the games they lose are gonna be 5-1. They're not going to score many runs. They're not going to beat you by outscoring you. They're going to beat you by pitching because their pitching staff is really good. And the thing I expect from them is that by the end of the season, everyone knows in MLB that it is a top 10 pitching staff. They also have a pretty good defense. In my opinion, I think Miguel Rojas is one of the top shortstops in the league, and I really like Jacob Stallings' ability to catch and call games. So I think along with their good defense and starting pitching, they should, by the end of the year, you should know that the Miami Marlins have a top 10 strength rotation, and they've got guys coming to back it up. Like I said, Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, and Sixto Sanchez, all pretty high prospects that I expect to have impacts this season, and hoping that they have impacts because some guys have moved. I think that like Sandy Alcantara is one of your main guys. Trevor Rogers is up there. There's been a lot of Pablo Lopez trade talks. Who knows if he ends up getting moved? Jesus Luzardo came up last season from in the Starling Marte trade from Oakland, and he was kind of up and down, so maybe he gets around. But you've got a lot of starting pitching prospects that have value right now, and you got to determine who's your 5 for the future and who you get rid of to get some big name bats because that's what you're desperately needing. 2 of these guys should be able to get a good return from anyone because they have high value. They've got other prospects in the way. If you look at their shortstop position, you've got Khalil Watson, who was their top draft pick. He's listed as their top prospect. You're not going to trade him. But lower on in the list, you've got your number 8th overall prospect, Jose Salas, and your 13th overall prospect, Yidi Cape, an international free agent that I like a lot, actually. Those 2 guys are guys that can be moved because you don't really need them. You have your top shortstop in Khalil Watson, and you're not going to move anyone to second base because you have Jazz Chisholm. Another thing, I really expect Jazz to take a step forward and be a star. So that's what I expect for the Marlins. I want to see a top 10 pitching staff. I want to see a adding of a good outfielder, preferably a center fielder, and I want to see Jazz Chisholm be a star and continue his growth and development because he is the leader of the Miami Marlins.